Welcome back. This is the third the fuck am I doing with my hands? This is the third episode. Let me show off that ring for the engagement series. Yes. So welcome back to the LDR engagement series and the conversations you need to have in order to get engaged in a long distance relationship. My name is Jasmine. I was in a long distance relationship for 3.5 years. Tuomas and I recently closed the distance in 2020. Yes, during the global pandemic, because we're crazy. Crazy in love. Nah, but so if you've been following along with this series, make sure you are liking and subscribing to my channel so you can get updated when I post a new video for this series. In today's episode, we're going to talk about having the marriage talk. Now you might be wondering, Jasmine, why am I just now having the marriage talk? Well, that's because you have to butter people up before you drop a big idea onto them. So, you're not going to have, you and your partner should already have at this point, do you want to get married one day? Me too. That's so cool. Yay. Yes, you should have that conversation already. That is in the dating phase, and so I hope if you're watching this that you have already passed that point in your life. But just in case you haven't had that conversation, this video is here for you. So you want to have that discussion. You want to talk about what is your plans for marriage? What are your cultural plans for a wedding? So in my original video about this topic, I mentioned that in Finland, a lot of people don't get married really until their early to mid 30s. And that's when they start families. Now that is very, very different from the U.S. culture's view on this. In the U.S., they want you. The U.S. is so contradictory. They want you to pop out and be having babies, or at least my family is getting married, having kids when I was 23. But then they don't also condone that, so it makes no sense to me. Anyways, so those are our cultural difference though. I'm in the US, as a female, old thoughts are that we get married and have a baby before we hit 30. And if we can't do that, then it's just well, you effed up your whole life, try again. Whereas in Finland, it's no, we want to be financially secure. We want to have our ducks in a row. We want to be at a good place. Then we'll get married and start a family. And again, it comes from that idea of wanting to be able to provide for others, provide for myself before I can provide for others. I'm not saying which view is right or which wrong. What's wrong? What's wrong is my mouth right now because I can't talk. I'm not saying what view is right or wrong in this situation, but it's just understanding and being on the same page with each other about it. So we had to talk about what would marriage look like in each other's country. So Tuomas wanted to get married in a church in Finland. And that meant that I had to find records of when I got baptized in 2001 or something like that. And I had to find all that documentation plus get other documentation proof that I've never been married before, or if you have been married, then proof that you were divorced, and everything like that. That's the steps we had to do to get married in his country. We really didn't look much into the US because our plan was always for me to move to Finland. But that's a conversation you and your partner should have. What requirements do you need to get married there, and vice versa. And we also looked into, getting married in a government building because that's cheap and we trying to save money. Well, and then I found out that churches are free in Finland to get married to. Yes, churches are free. In the US, it's $1,000. Okay, that could be exaggerating, but it's more than 200 for sure. It's more than 200. and you have to do a lot of other BS in the US too. But so talk about that, like especially in the last video I mentioned like those financial aspects. So like talk about what would be cheaper for y'all, or what you're willing to spend on a wedding, how much money you have to spend to get married. We didn't have to pay the church anything here, but I don't know what it's like in other countries. I don't know what other cultures recommend for marriage. So having this discussion about marriage and like what it looks like to each other and what it looks like in y'all's country is very, very important. And it'll also help you, plan out better and visualize like, oh my gosh, we're actually going to get married. Some other discussions to have about marriage is the reasons why you want to get married to each other and if y'all both feel ready. Now, again, that's why I kind of had you do the financial conversation first in that previous video. I can leave a little thing if you want to watch it, if you haven't already. But talking about that financial aspect will help like prepare the marriage conversation better. Like, if I would have asked Tuomas before we had that financial conversation if he was ready to get married, he would say no. I even mentioned he was hesitant. He was like, nah, we gotta wait longer. But after we had that financial conversation and like, I made him aware like I can take care of myself. I'm a grown ass woman. It made him feel more ready. It made him feel more prepared to getting married. When you do have this conversation with your partner, please do it over a video call. Like in Tuomas and I's relationship, it was mostly voice calls that we did, except if it was something really important that we need to talk about. So the video calls like helped us like, maintain eye contact, stay focused to the conversation that we're having, and it like just limited all distractions. And this conversation should be, like very, very in a safe space and in a calm environment, because you have to give each other time to really process these thoughts that you're having. You have to, make sure each other has that space in the conversation. Like, I understand you want these things, so let me think about them and how I can provide. And, let them have that time to think about it. Because if you're pushing and like continuously like, well, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think? Well, no one's gonna want to do it. That's annoying. Like, it's like your parents telling you to clean your room after like the 5th time. You're like, no. It's the same thing. Like, you're not gonna want to do something if someone's pushing you to do it. So when you have that marriage talk, give each other time to really process things. And there's no need to worry or rush about it. Like, you don't have to get married at a certain point in your life. Like, you get married to the person you love because the time is right in y'all's life. So, if you like this video, please press the like button. What are your thoughts on marriage? What does marriage look like in your country or where you're from? Let me know. I would like to have an open discussion in the comments about the cost of marriage in everyone's country. So let me know. And until then, I'll see you later. Bye.